I'm Michael Jang. I'm a developer for Iron Oak Games on For the King 2.
So, Michael, what was your studio's biggest takeaway that you learned from For the King 1 and brought with you into For the King 2?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that people really liked our adventures. They really liked the content. They just wanted to see more, and they wanted more of a challenge. They wanted to see more of the lands of Fahrul and kind of more of the plot and what we could offer as a team as the sequel.
So, talk about some of the new classes that people can play and experience in the sequel.
Sure, yeah, I'll speak on some of my favorite classes. So I think one of my favorite classes currently is the farmer, who has the ability to build a scarecrow that will be able to protect your party members. He'll be kind of a silent companion in some of the combats to be able to stand there and take the hits that you don't want your squishy party members to take.
So talk about how the combat has evolved from the previous game into the sequel.
Yeah, so For the King 1 was very much a choose a target, choose an ability, kind of put some effort into it, attack roll. With For the King 2, we moved to a battle grid system where the emphasis is really on mobility. It's really on being able to strategize around setting up enemies for failure or setting up your team for success, and being able to kind of use all your tools in your tool belt to really take down any foe that stands in your path.
You mentioned that you made the overworld a little bit more interactive with objectives kind of moving around. Talk about the evolution of that process.
One of the things is that we wanted the adventures to feel really dynamic. We wanted to make you feel like you really needed to get into the action, whether that's sooner or later, that there's a reason why you need to be moving around and kind of jumping from place to place, as well as kind of both chasing your tail and chasing enemies' tails. So we really wanted to get you involved with having to manage multiple kind of objectives, as well as focus on a main goal, which is protecting the lands of Fahrul.
Your first game is very tabletop-esque, pen and paper type of stuff, and it's your own system. But what other games, whether it be tabletop, digital, or other, did you look for inspiration when designing the gameplay mechanics and design for the second game?
Yeah, so a lot of the inspiration actually came from interacting with the community around the first game. We really like to engage with our players. We really like to see how we can involve all the systems from the first game, which is very much kind of a standalone tabletop RPG board game that was developed and turned into a digital board game, which is really cool. And I think with implementing new systems in For the King 2, we really tried to see what we could do to elevate our current systems and what kind of systems would be fun and cohesive, which is the most important part with our current systems in For the King. So we looked at kind of general RPG kind of mechanics and saw how we could put a fun twist on it. We want players to feel like they're not quite safe, but not quite always on the brink of getting a TPK, right?
Now, when really big RPGs release, or another mainstream it gets released into the market, do you guys look at that at all and kind of see what they do differently and maybe apply some of that to design, or do you just kind of just stay focused on your own game?
Very much. We're a very small team. We're about a 13, 14 person team, so we definitely all are in the realm of playing RPGs. We are all well versed with getting into that scene, and we really respect other developers, but we're very focused on just bringing the best experience with FTK2. And yeah, we total respect for every developer on any RPG, because we know how much work that is. And yeah, we're trying to breathe as much life and as much passion into this project as possible.
You talk about the cosmetics and the gear that you'll earn in this. You guys have really stepped it up from the previous game with, you even said you can match. I saw a bunch of top hats. You can match your whole party if you want.
Yeah, we like to dress to impress in For the King 2. We really want you to be able to have as much wacky fun with your friends as possible. If you want to look like a serious adventure, you can do that. If you want to look like someone who just came off the beach with a top hat and no clothing, you can do that as well. But we do have a lot of cool cosmetic unlockables that you'll kind of see throughout the adventures that might not be something that you're quite used to in a lot of RPGs, and I think that's really exciting, is being able to surprise players with that.
You guys, you love that RPG classic feel in your game and your small team. When you're setting up the design principles, do you test that first on pen and paper, or do you go digital first?
So when it comes to prototyping those systems, we'll have a discussion. We'll see how it works kind of on the whiteboard. We'll kind of map it out as well, but we will prototype it digitally and talk about it as a team, review it. We'll even engage some players, and I think that's really important, is having that close-knit community to be able to go to and say hey, what do you think about this system? Is this something that feels good? Is this something that we're happy with? Because as developers, you could always think, hey, I made this new system, it's awesome, but until you get it into the hands of someone who actually plays games, it's hard to look at it from an objective point of view.
So when does the game come out, and what platforms are you aiming for at release?
So current release date is stated for late 2023. It's towards 2020, or it's getting towards the end of 2023 now. So we're all working passionately and hard on the project. Yeah, and currently stated for release on Steam.
And do you have any plans to support consoles at all? PlayStation, Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, so we have plans in our roadmap to support consoles, and that'll be our focus moving forward after release.
Now the big question is, couch co-op is rapidly becoming a thing. Do you guys is that something you want to support? Is that something you'll look into post-release? Is that something you've looked into currently?
It's not something that we currently support, but
it's hard, especially with so many menus and stuff.
Yeah.
How do people go at the same time?
Yeah, you definitely understand in terms of the complexity and the implementation, and something that in For the King 1, it was a system that everyone did enjoy, and it's something that we want to investigate more and kind of focus on in the future.
Perfect. And then where can people find more information about For the King 2? You mentioned you have a pretty active Discord.
Yeah, so we take a great pride in our community. For the King is very much a cooperative game for the most part. Some people can go off on their own. You'll always get griefers, but it's for the most part, it's a cooperative game, and everyone likes to work together. So our Discord has very passionate players. We have very technical players everywhere from entry level, like people who have just picked up For the King as their first video game ever. So having that kind of interaction with those players who are willing to engage, most of our players are willing to engage, which is awesome to hear. And sometimes we even hop into a voice chat with them, hang out, or even play games with them. Some of the Discord members that I play with, I've become really good friends with, which is great.
I know you guys are making a video game and that's the focus, but I'm just curious if you guys ever batted the idea around of actually making a physical version of your game that can be played in real life on a tabletop.
So I think there's been the casual talk around the office, but nothing serious. We're very much focused on For the King 2, delivering that for Steam PC. We want to ensure that that's the best game possible. We don't want to lose our focus in any way, shape, or form. Right. So that is our prime objective, and we want to make sure we deliver on that.